So if you couldn't tell from that super dramatic intro, today I'm going to be doing a short video on how we make prickly pear jelly from prickly pears that we harvest around our property. We do this every year, mostly for personal use and consumption, mostly by me, but as well as for gifts. And it's a super simple thing to do, as most jams and jellies are. And they pretty much all require the same type of processing. So I realize not everybody's going to have access to prickly pears, but you know, this can work with apples and raspberries and pretty much anything else. So hold on one second and we'll get to it. So the first step we take after we pick our prickly pears is to process them, and I like to do this with a flame to get all of the needles off. Next, we place all of the prickly pears in a large pot and just barely cover with water. For this process, we are primarily looking to just get the juices out of the prickly pears and not really any of the pulp or seeds. Periodically, I like to get a white little scoop just to check and see how rich the color is, and when you get a really nice dark color like this, it's just about ready. And one other thing you can check is when the fruits start getting kind of pale, like these two are right here. Once the juice is ready, we then proceed to strain out all the rest of the contents through a strainer and a clean cotton towel. And once our big pot was freed from being used to cook down the prickly pears, we then cleaned it out and used it to process all of our jars and lids and canning rings. Now that everything was ready, we started getting all of our ingredients together, and this consisted of lemon juice, pectin, sugar, and the prickly pear juice that you saw that was cooked down. Once we have these ingredients pre-measured and set out, we first start off by boiling the prickly pear juice and the pectin for a little over a minute before adding then the lemon juice and then a whole boatload of sugar. The sugar will take just a bit to dissolve into the boiling liquid, but it won't take too long. And then once you get it all dissolved, you will bring it back to a simmer or a boil, stir a little bit more, and then skim off any foam that develops on the top. After all the foam has been removed from the top, we can then start adding our mixture to our jars to about a 1/4 inch from the top, leaving just a little bit of headspace, and then adding our lids and then our locking rings to just hand tight. And then they're pretty much ready for the water bath canner, and that's what I'm putting them in right there. Now the exact time of how long they will actually need to be in the water bath canner will totally depend on what you are canning and your elevation and other factors. So I won't mention how long we took, but I will add slightly more detailed info on our recipe for the prickly pears. With the exception of any canning info. As I said, that will totally depend on your specific area and what you're going to be canning. And after many hours of slaving over a hot stove making all this jelly, I enjoy a nice little treat, and I usually prefer my jelly on some buttered toast, and it's usually not just one, but like 2 or 3 or 4. And for my daughter, she could care less about waiting for the toast to be ready. She's fine with using the jelly as an appetizer while it is still in the toaster.
Oopsie, I didn't get any. Is that enough, Mom?
Yeah.
Is that good?
I have one more little bite.
We have to use a different spoon.
And if you're wondering what recipe we use, we actually use this old family cookbook from my wife's family. It's got about 100 years of various type of recipes, and the one in the back is the general recipe that we use. I'll hold it up close for you to see, and we just make a couple of changes depending on what we need. And there really isn't any canning info in here, so you'll just have to follow a canning guide of your choice. So as always guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.